Good morning, everyone, and good morning to all. Happy Friday, the 13th. So are we a little nervous, Austin, or what's going on?
I don't know. I hear mixed reports about these kind of things. Is it the most unlucky day of the year? Is it the luckiest day of the year? I don't know. I'm not sure how to feel. I woke up feeling okay this morning, so we'll see how the day progresses, I guess.
Let's just go with our gut. So we've got some
I'm
good
feeling
news.
good. I'm feeling
Yeah,
good.
it's good then. It's Friday the 13th in August. It's good. So let's go with that. We got some good news. I just want to jump on this right away. So GMG, which we've been talking about for quite some time, and I'm excited about, they've just come out announcing that they're on yesterday out of Australia, because that's where they're based. They're doing 10 million round with a half warrant, and it's being done by Cantor Fitzgerald. Now, this is a big deal because you always want to attract with deals like this where they're raising money, good firms, and Cantor Fitzgerald is a huge firm, very well widely regarded and well known. Unfortunately, some of it, the reason why I got a lot of news was it was unfortunately on the top floor of the World Trade Center during 9/11, where it wiped out their head office and a lot of their employees. But they've built back since then. A great investment bank trading platform as well as equities. So this is great. This shows a very big firm, global firm that is interested in what they're doing. So the stock is halted. So the news came out yesterday, but I suspect there'll be a lot more interest now as to what they're doing. Very excited about that news, especially for those of you who do know some of the big major bankers and global investment banks. Cantor Fitzgerald has an incredible name and reputation.
Yeah, they've got a great backing behind them. It's a really exciting kind of deal, and it just goes to show, everything. GMG just continuing to check the boxes. It's showing massive interest by such a large firm in what they are doing and the kind of products that they're able to create and the innovation that they are working on. It's an extremely exciting news update for them.
So let's just recount some of the other things too, because we've got some major news in the market too. And you see, Disney had some great earnings. I don't really care for Disney. I would never buy it, have nothing to do with it. But besides that, we have inflation in Canada up at 5.6%, I think, for last month. So depending on what source you're reading, this is either amazing news that we've got inflation and growth, or we need to be a little bit more cognizant of this. Real estate's at its peak. Money's flowing everywhere. If you go buy groceries, you're going to notice it. And that's hard to do. And we have to bear in mind, a lot of people are paycheck to paycheck, like month to month. And if there's, if you increase prices, and they're gone up more than 5 or 10%, let me tell you. Like, I live in a big city in Vancouver, and the prices have increased dramatically. If I just go buy fruits and vegetables, just go buy some stuff at the store, if I can notice it that quickly without paying attention, then that's quite a startling rise. And the other thing we'd mentioned before, when you're talking about the sneaky way of inflation, which they've been doing for years, is you'll notice that, I don't buy boxes of cereal, but if you buy a box of something, they're just giving you less. So it used to be 500 milligrams or 500, and it's like now it's 350 or it's 275. And you get these big boxes that are mostly empty, and you're wondering, I got this huge packaging, and most of it's empty.
It's 80% air.
It's air. So that's a well-known trick for years of how you can inflate the value of something. You just give someone less, and people think, oh well, the price is the same. But you've gotten a lot less. So you're going to see a lot more of that. And listen, no one likes to promote fear. Well, I should back that up. Everyone in the mainstream media likes to promote fear, but we don't necessarily like to do that. I'm not here to make people kind of paranoid that this, is blowing up out of control, but it's just be cognizant of it. And it's, to my mind, it strengthens the fact that you want to be in commodities. You want to be in things that are, that have intrinsic value, particularly with this infrastructure bill being pushed by the Biden administration, 1.3 trillion. You're talking about a lot of, there is a lot of not infrastructure kind of stuff that they're doing, but there is a big chunk is going to actual infrastructure. And we've talked about before with some of the, like ProStar and some of the other companies, that the amount of infrastructure that needs to be done is incredible. It's amazing. And for that part, it can get lots of people back to work, build a lot of, especially the bridges in the US that need a lot of work, roads and whatnot, but also get a lot of, this new energy push. It's a lot of infrastructure that needs to get done. So I welcome that. And that requires an enormous amount of commodities.
It does, and it aligns so perfectly with kind of what we've been talking about and our look and our outlook on things. But it's important to know that it's something the U.S. has desperately needed for a very long time. I mean, going back to the Obama years, this was being talked about, how they need a massive infrastructure push, obviously all the way through the Trump term from 2016 to 2020 as well, and now into the Biden administration as well. That when it gets done, it gets done, and I hope it gets done. But it's another thing that kind of just gets played politics with in the U.S., as so much of kind of any of the big ticket items in the U.S. do.
Yes, and we've touched on that too. Is everything now is political, and at the end of the day, everything has always been political. I think when people say, they hate how the world's become very politicized, is that it's not that it hasn't been. It's one of the most important things that one has to decide in their life is how do they want to live, and that's political. Yes. But I think when people use the term, it's just that they're referring to the gap that's widening between people that want freedom and people who choose not to have it. And that is more of a struggle for Americans to deal with because Canada hasn't had that entirely. But the U.S. has always been that bastion of freedom, and you're getting, 35 to 40% of the population isn't really interested. So that's a bit of a shock for people. So when they say it's got political, it always has been. It's just that people are recognizing that the gap is dividing at a very exponential pace. It's not slowing down, and it's just not going to. And we'll see where it ends up, but it certainly doesn't look great. But anyways, that's here nor there. But we have to keep that in mind because policies are being made that are, like we look at even the World Economic Forum. Lots of positive generalist kind of stuff there, and also batshit insane, crazy stuff. I censored the wrong word there. Totally insane, totally insane things that they dream up there. That for years we had to listen to people go, oh, conspiracy, and literally just go to their website and read their mission statement and go, look, that's just what they're saying. So it's, once again, we live in very troubling times because I even see, this isn't stock market news, but it is political. YouTube and FANG has done their next load of censoring U.S. politicians for not towing the line for the message they want, deplatforming people, and that's only going to continue getting stronger. So it's an ugly world that we're living in, and as they push that divide between the people, very few are focusing in on who the problem is. And I'm always amazed at that. But in any event, we're talking mostly about money, about the stock market. And listen, we're in a sector and we cover companies I'm extremely confident in. And I want to get that message out to people to look to see, listen, in times of chaos and times of struggle, you want to own the things that make the things. And we can see out there desperately there's going to be a funding for infrastructure. That means mining.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think it's important to reiterate to people that the reason we pay such close attention to policy and politics is because you have to improvise and adapt and tweak your own personal strategy to fit the narratives that are being pushed, to fit, especially when it comes to World Economic Forum, the policies that they flat out are saying this is what we're going to do. And so for us in our situation, to look at that and interpret, okay, where's the best growth opportunities based off this? This is the direction that it's going. So how do we improvise, adapt, change our strategy, focus in on certain things in order to, essentially make money in times of massive chaos? That's really the root kind of idea of what we're doing here. And an interesting story, kind of a little bit of a segue that falls into the way things have been going over the last little while is, I don't know if you saw this, Andrew, but there's some seismic players in the market who are suggesting that Reddit is maybe making a long-lasting change in stock trading policy and market patterns.
Heaven forbid that the retail investor, that mom and pa and the young investors get to have a say in how the market works.
Don't let the apes have the keys. They don't want it. They just want to be eating crayons and gambling. But no, now we're fueling the lasting change in the stock market. I thought that was a pretty interesting piece from the Financial Post there.
And listen, I joke and I love this type of stuff because there is something to it. I mean, if you're pushing a stock that has no intrinsic value and you think this is insane, why are they doing this? Yeah, it's infuriating for an analyst, and it's troubling. But I could point out tons of companies that are completely not fraudulent, but that were able to work and raise money and be supported for years and years of negative earnings for almost a decade to build entire whole enterprises with lots of support and backing that one would say is like monopolies that have put tons of business out of business, all for the better of a very small elite group of people. So listen, there are a lot of the push by some of the Reddit and the Wall Street Bets crowd was done with a very good mission and message. And I'm all for it. When the people get to have their say in things, that's always been a strong message to tell people, is that you don't realize you do have some power. You don't by yourself, but when you are able to organize people on a stream like this, you can fight back. And we're seeing that a lot now. And people are being encouraged by that because you need to have a say. You should have a say in these people who are determining your fate. And we're not talking about small policy things. We're not talking about, oh no, our taxes are going up 5 or 10%. I mean, that isn't going to get anyone that motivated. When you've pushed people to the point you've pushed them, where they're willing to get as divided as they are, you're not managing well. You're not doing a good job. And I'm not, that's not Biden or before with Trump. This is just the current environment we're in. And it's just making a commentary with politics in general. I just want to jump back to, because it reminds me of a story back at, when I was at Merrill, and when you're talking about policy and news. And I remember sitting there right after, and we talked about 9/11 a little bit. Right after 9/11, I'm sitting there in my office and I'm thinking, I know what the right move to do right now is. I'm just not going to do it. But if you go buy Raytheon, like a weapons technology and developer, that's going to go through the roof. So, I didn't do it. I can't do it because for me, I'm just like, I don't want to make money that way. But of course, I mentioned it to some other people that if that was their decision, they could go ahead and do so. But to me, it ties in that you have to look at policy and look at things and then decide, do I want to make money off that? And sure, there's a lot of, kind of scams and debacles and whatnot in the green movement. But if you can spend some money and electrify things and get some innovation going, it's a noble enterprise to charge out after. And for that, it's part of my job to kind of sneak out and see which ones aren't these kind of grifting things that politicians and business guys kind of make millions out of. But what actual real deals that are getting done, and listen, that I don't mind. I'm not the type of guy who wants to make money doing arms deals. That's just that's not my thing. But you could recognize right away that that's where money was going to be made, and it did. So we kind of look to say, okay, here's if we kind of let people know this is what's happening and how it affects the markets, then they can make their own decision as to how they want to make money. But to me, it matters how you make money. It's a big factor in how I view things. And I'm not of the type that says, if I make the money first, I can then go do good with it later, because that never happens. I shouldn't say never. It rarely happens when someone takes that approach.
90% of the time, it doesn't work.
Let's be safe. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And in any event, that I like touching on that because it combines model and mindset, and it kind of gives a bit of a highlight as to why we're talking about some of these things. And we try to keep away from some quote unquote politics to a large extent because we don't want to alienate people, but you cannot separate it anymore. It's embedded in the stock market as well. Mm-hmm. So right now for us, although there's all of this fear, there's fear printing like crazy that's not being they're trying to promote as being a good thing. This is healthy.
Yeah.
And massive inflation that's been going on for a long time that they don't want to admit. And also because you don't want to send the wrong signal around the world that, yes, we admit there's been massive hyperinflation for years and years and years. But anyone, if they sat down and just looked at their life and their lifestyle and how things, they would know. You just look and go, look, this is obvious. It's not. It doesn't require a massive amount of finance background to figure out. Is that what do we do then to kind of buoy ourselves against this tidal wave that's coming?
Yeah, and I mean, there's tons of interesting takes and people looking at different approaches, and ours is just one kind of idea and one approach. But it's important to have a plan to deal with that. I mean, even earlier today, HSBC's chief investment officer said that the market is no longer concerned about inflation. The stock market's not worried about it anymore. To which I'd say, well, was the stock market ever really worried about it, or was that just the latest reason to pin the chaos on? But it's interesting times, nevertheless. Interesting stories out there, and regardless of how you want to hedge yourself against inflation, the key is you want to hedge yourself against inflation. You want to be prepared for that, because I mean, when it's no longer a concern, that means it's just going to keep on going exactly the way it's been going so far, and the 5% increase may seem like nothing in a few years.
Yes, and I mean, gold and silver's pulled back a lot, and that's tough for some people because they saw it climbing for the last years and years. But listen, that's not going away anytime. It's not. It's being pushed back a bit. But I am of firm conviction that is going to be bouncing back. Yeah. There's too much requirement, and gold because of the fiat thing. But silver, it's so highly used industrially, and it's used in solar panels. So I mean, whether it's Elon Musk with Solar City, it's used in EVs. You need to have silver. So there's an actual industrial use. Never mind, it's also a store of value. It's a wealth vehicle. That and to kind of make a note too, someone like an Elon Musk or solar panel developers would want that price a lot lower because they're going to be buying lots of it. So there's lots of powers at work. But once again, we're talking commodities. We're talking about mining. We're talking about all of these things that we require to meet the innovation and demand, whether it's helium, like with Desert Mountain Energy, whether it's copper. All of these things are absolutely critical for us to take that next step and keep on developing, whether it's boards for Bitcoin mining, any of that. All of it comes from mining. So I always like to remind people, and maybe some people get sick of hearing it, but just hammering home that the opportunity is in this commodity cycle that is still developing. That is a very small part of the market of the sector, like compared to like tech, which is huge and would be it would be very tough to get one's head wrapped around all the players, all the deals, all the money. Whereas you can get into the junior mining market and sift through with a little bit of help and with a model to find companies that are doing exceptional things and strategize that way.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. And it's important to be looking at and you said it earlier, how can you own the stuff that makes stuff? And if you want to be solving the current climate crisis or whatever you want to call it, whatever your view on that is, if you want to be looking at ways to tackle that, you need mining. It's absolutely critical to do anything on that sort of front. You need to have commodities. You need to be looking at this sector. So it's an incredible kind of asset to the path forward, and there's so many exciting companies within it that it's easy to get excited once you start looking.
Yes. So lots happening, of course, Desert Mountain looks good. GMG is looking good. We'll see what happens when it starts trading again. Happy Friday. It is Friday the 13th, but let's have a good one. Have a great weekend, everyone. We're coming into the last stages of summer. So get out there, enjoy yourself, enjoy your family and get out, enjoy. Hopefully you've got some sun today and enjoy the day.
Yep. Take care. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday, good sir.
We will. We'll see. Austin's coming out here, so we'll have some live shows for everyone.
Awesome. All right. Take care, Andrew. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.